Hello, everyone. CMAS has published a statement regarding the death of Andrey Matveenko. The published text presents information that is deeply concerning. Either they have presented clearly false facts about the circumstances of his death, or they have accessed medical documentation and files which are private and confidential and disclosed it publicly without consent. Both options are profoundly problematic. The latter one is a violation of several medical standards regarding privacy and confidentiality, as well as breach of some general ethical standards, and clearly disrespects and disregards the wishes of the deceased family. If CMAS is in possession of some new, concrete, and verifiable evidence that would support their statement, they should present it publicly and show transparency. Otherwise, in the absence of such proof, speculating about an athlete's death, especially implying his own responsibility, is just unfair. He can no longer defend himself in any way. It's harmful and it's not in line with the values that a sport organization should have. What is most concerning is that this statement completely avoids the core issue, and that is what happened at the World Championship. These events were not incidental. What unfolded there irreversibly changed and endangered Andrey's life. While we cannot turn back time or change anything, we can acknowledge responsibility, we can learn some lessons, and we can definitely prevent future tragedies. We need public answers to crucial questions with transparency, honesty, integrity, and fairness. Who has the responsibility for the events and failures at the World Championships? How can this negligence and lack of due diligence be accepted as a normal operational outcome? Why there were no medical specialists with experience in dive-related emergencies at a competition of such high profile and such risk? These are foreseeable emergencies. Why the medical team was inadequately equipped to respond to such emergencies? Does CMAS have no medical equipment and safety standards like the ones in IDA, for example? Why there was no clear emergency and evacuation plan? If such plan ever existed, why wasn't it familiar to the athletes, to the staff, or to anyone before the accident? How is it possible that there were no safety drills conducted for the championship? The only safety drill conducted happened on the day 2, 15 minutes prior to official time. Was there any basic emergency resuscitation gear presented to the staff at the first day of the competition? Did the chief of safety experience DCS during the competition? And if yes, how is it possible that the dives of this profile and risk were approved for a safety diver, and who authorized this? How was it possible for an official deep dive to be executed while there was no medical team prepared to intervene if anything happened? How could the event start without a ladder for water exit and entry? And how would this work if someone was injured? How was an injured diver expected to be transported without a spine board? What would have happened if there were no other athletes to intervene and help Andrey Matveenko? How did it occur that a medical team from Mytikas was awaiting the evacuation party at Mytikas while the evacuation was going towards Lefkada? Why there was no ambulance ready and standby to receive the casualty on land? How come they were so late? How come the boat and ambulance meeting point was never established before and never tested? What would the outcome have been if there was no bystanders that were medically trained to help transport Andrey from the boat to the ambulance? Why the local hospitals, General Hospital, and the hyperbaric facility were never notified or prepared that a world championship is going on? Similar safety issues from previous years were ignored, even when they affected multiple athletes, and even when several athletes decided to cancel their participation prior to the competition for safety reasons. How was this ignored? Many of these issues have been misrepresented and denied in the official athletes chat and the official captains meeting in Mytikas. Why did this happen? What does this tell us about transparency and governance? Who decides on the implementation of the in-water recompression protocols? How can this be changed mid-competition? Why is it available for some and not available for others? Isn't this something that should be addressed and decided prior to competition? These questions are not rhetorical, they are fundamental. They should have been addressed openly and immediately. By not doing so, you're damaging the integrity of the sport and dishonoring the memory of an athlete whose life was completely changed by these events. This demonstrates lack of competence, expertise, leadership, and responsibility. I would like to invite staff members, athletes, anyone who was there, witnesses, or anyone who was affected by this to create a statement if they want, which can be not edited and publicly presented in the next statement that we will issue, which will be in the form of a documentary about the events that unfolded during the World Championships in Mytikas. We will also personally look for statements from key individuals. Hopefully, they will respond to us, and we will be able to present this from multiple perspectives, ensuring fairness and transparency and learning from it so that this will never happen again. It makes me sad that CMAS appears to be unwilling to learn from the experience of IDA, a much bigger and more experienced organization with thousands of competitions already organized worldwide, with employing experts of all fields to collect data and analyze them to create a safer environment with higher and stricter standards. At an IDA World Championship, an event of this nature is effectively impossible, not because there is no risk at that championship, but because they have very strict standards that anticipate and mitigate such risks. Standards about chamber availability, about staffing, about safety drills and procedures, about basically anything that happens on the competition to ensure athlete safety as high priority. This contrast is not theoretical, it's operational, measurable, and documented. The refusal to acknowledge and adopt best practices from the freediving community does not symbolize strength or independence. It reflects missed responsibility, especially when the cost of that refusal is measured in human life. Andrey deserved better than this. So does our sport.